I love hanging out at Plan B sales, and you never know who's going to show up. Recently, Marcus Ambrose was here signing some autographs, so we have Marcus Ambrose Diecast, and one of the cars that we focus on a lot is his race-winning car for Watkins Glen. Remember that race last year? That was the one where Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Marcus just went after each other the last lap. Kyle got twisted up early in that last lap and ended up wrecking, but Marcus and Brad Keselowski, they wore each other out. And the side of the race car shows the tire marks on the car. Marcus Ambrose scoring the victory at Watkins Glen with that car. So that's one of the featured cars we have. But Marcus was here with us not too long ago. We were able to catch up with him. And one of the things we chatted about with him was he grew up in Australia. And as a kid, was diecast part of his life? Did he collect diecast as a kid growing up?
Well, as a kid, I didn't really collect anything but Matchbox cars. And I'd normally lose them in the backyard. So these ones here are actually pretty special. The most important thing here is the detail they got in them for the price. There's just a lot of detail in these cars. I've been looking at this one here. This is the Watkins Glen winning car that we had from last year. It's got the steering wheel that I used. The seat is actually the same shape and colour and everything like that. So a lot of detail goes in these cars, and I probably wouldn't want to lose these ones in the backyard.
Oh, I love Marcus Ambrose, and that win at Watkins Glen was spectacular. The diecast commemorates it really well. Now, I always also find ironic about Marcus Ambrose as a kid growing up in Australia, ends up in NASCAR land, and ends up driving for Richard Petty. So one of the other things Marcus was talking about while he was here is what it's like to drive for the king.
Well, driving for Richard Petty Motorsports is really a dream come true. I mean, I'm from Australia, so I've come a long way to be part of NASCAR and to actually drive for the most winning driver in NASCAR history. It's pretty special, and what's more special is he's a great guy and he's a living legend, and he's running my race team. So he's there every weekend. He's really involved in our race team every single week. He's a very involved team owner, and it's great to have him around, but it's even better to hear his stories. He's got a lot of great stories.
I can't imagine what it must be like driving for Richard Petty. What a thrill that has to be for any racer, especially a guy that's traveled so far to get to NASCAR racing. Now, as we know in the diecast world, a lot of different race cars, a lot of different paint schemes. We see this frequently, the Stanley DeWalt car with Marcus Ambrose, but he had a Gyro car last year, and all the time they're bringing out new diecast and new paint schemes. And Marcus talked about the fact that a lot of times in NASCAR racing, you have different looking cars when you go to different racetracks.
So I guess as a race car driver, you drive a lot of different cars, and what's cool about these models is you can actually remember them. So this car here, the Gyro, it was actually a paint scheme to launch this new tool that Black & Decker had, and it was a tool which is pretty handy. It has a bit of iPhone technology in it, or a gyro technology. As you turn your wrist, it turned a screwdriver one way or the other. So it was really a paint scheme that we used for I think 3 or 4 races in 2012. We'll never see it again. The only way you will see it is through one of these models.
I love hanging out and talking and listening even to the way Marcus Ambrose talks. He's an interesting guy and a fascinating character and a great race car driver. And you know, I think Marcus is a tribute to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing. It is the largest form of racing in the world, and the top stock car drivers everywhere want to come here. You know, we have Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, had a lot of success in Formula One racing, and Marcus Ambrose from Australia ran a lot of the sports car stuff before making his way to NASCAR because he wanted to be in the premier form of motorsports, the most competitive form of motorsports in the world, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing, and Marcus doing a really good job collecting a couple victories, and that win last year at Watkins Glen, again this diecast car, just a spectacular win, a world-class driver coming to a world-class race course at Watkins Glen and scoring the victory, and Marcus Ambrose did it well. Marcus Ambrose Diecast is available at your local diecast dealer, and of course, we have Marcus Ambrose Diecast available at planbsales.com.